You heard about our earlier discussion. Do you think there are CEOs that are afraid to come out for Kamala Harris because of retribution from the Trump, or vice versa? Is it harder to come out for Trump or harder to come out? I think it's a no-brainer. I could go to every book party in New York and cocktail party if I and the mainstream media would love me and Joe Kerner would be great if I were to endorse Kamala Harris.
You're correct. So
with Trump,
by the way, one of the benefits,
it's an absolute nightmare for you.
One of the benefits of supporting Trump, one of the few benefits of supporting Trump publicly, is many people come up to me, CEOs.
And say, I'd like to support Trump, but
Bill, thank you for saying what you're saying. I wish I were similarly situated where I could, but I have, all my employees would quit. I hear stuff like that.
Well, if you read 20 things that Kamala Harris has said in the past, it's all anathema to business and to free markets and to the filibuster and to the rule of law and to the border, and they're all afraid to even say, well, she didn't mean any of it.
Joe, you're preaching to the converted.
I know.
And look, I think we should tone down the emotion. I think it's a really important decision. If you want to make the decision on economics or the stock market, you should feel free to do so. If you want to make the decision on the basis of national security, if you just, the people who, by the way, I've had many people who continue to support Vice President Harris who say to me, you know what, Bill, I agree with basically every one of your concerns, but I just don't like the guy.
Right.
I think he's rude. I think he's crass. I don't like his style. I hate him. That's a meaningful percentage of people. And then there are the people who say, okay, the world's going to end. Democracy is over. He's going to become a dictator. At 82, at the end of his term, he's going to, he's now Stalin. And there are some meaningful, thoughtful people who this is what they believe in. By the way, I respect them.
By the way, I would argue those people fear the risk of that.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone thinks that risk exists with Kamala Harris. Do you agree with that?
I don't think the risk.
You think there's no risk?
I think the risk. I think the system. Go ahead.
You're a risk assessor.
Can I just ask you about this?
Please.
We've talked to a lot of people this week or over the last week and a half, we've heard from a lot of people who are major investors and they're betting one way or another on this. Are you making bets based on what you think is going to happen with the election, and where would you put those bets?
We have no bets in the portfolio on the basis of who's going to be president. We don't short stocks anymore, as you know.
Right.
We own these great American businesses, obviously in a better economy. Let's talk, it's a CNBC. Let's talk a little bit about the economics of the next candidate. Trump is the only candidate that's talked about accelerating the growth of the country. And the only way we're going to dig ourselves out of $36 trillion worth of liabilities is through growth, right? There's sort of two answers when you're over leveraged, right? One answer is you can negotiate with your lenders. The other is you can increase the value of your assets. And how do you do that? You increase your profitability. How do you increase your profitability? You reduce expenses. He's the only candidate. And actually, let's talk about team for a moment, because it's not really Trump versus Harris. It's the Trump team versus the Harris team, right? So what have we seen? So Trump's picked J.D. Vance as his vice president. I'm afraid of mispronouncing him. Kamala has picked Walz. Walz is a self-described knucklehead, right? I can't imagine a world in which this guy is president of the United States. And you have to look at the vice president as a potential president of the United States. So that's, if I line them up, you've got a guy who grew up in a very challenged environment, addiction, family, rural America, makes his way to Yale, armed forces. Now he's, venture capitalist, senator, extremely articulate, obviously highly intelligent. So you compare and contrast. You have Elon Musk, who's probably one of the most consequential, certainly consequential business leaders 100%. In the world. It's proven he can take on 12 things at the same time and change the world. Okay, who's going to put himself out here in this election. And first, the only one talking about government efficiency, right? And Trump's all in. By the way, RFK, okay? RFK is a highly intelligent, capable person, and he's focused on a couple of issues that mean a lot to me. Number one, the food industrial complex, what's happened to the health of Americans over the last couple of decades. He's going to focus on that. I think that is a critically important issue. I think examining the 73-shot regime that we give our kids and And
Can I
it's
just ask you, though,
worth doing.
you've spent your whole career talking about truth, honestly.
Yes.
You go out there publicly talking about companies that you think are lying.
Sure.
And I just want to know what you think when you see, for example, former President Trump publicly say on the record that he forced Deere to not move to Mexico. And then the company has to come out with a statement that says that that's false, fundamentally false. He puts on Twitter or on social on his social media platform that Jamie Dimon is endorsing him, and then J.P. Morgan has to come out publicly and say that's not true.
Actually,
Well, we all know who this windbag is, Andrew Ross Sorkin. And I think, Andrew, you forgot to add a modifier to your name, so I'm going to do it for you. All right, and then we'll get your acronym for your name. Andrew Ross Sorkin extraordinaire. There you go. I gave you some props, Andrew. Andrew Ross Sorkin extraordinaire. What's that acronym? ARSE. Arse. That's right. Arse. You're an arse hole. Basically, both he and Joe Cornyn, they don't allow Bill Ackman to talk. They're like interrupting him all the time. They do that a lot with their guests. I know they want to get their stuff up, but we want to hear the guests basically tell us, we hear you, Andrew, arseman, arsehole, we hear you all the time. And I love Joe. And Becky, she's trying to be, trying to see if she can get in a word edgewise, but they won't. Because they're male or alpha males. They want to have the time there. And poor Becky's trying to, get a few words in. But I just want to address two of the things that Arseman over here is talking about. One, did Trump, he lied. Bill, you're always about truth and justice and the American way. And Deere saying that, no, that never happened. Trump didn't force us to do anything. How do you know that, arse? How do you know that? They could be lying. Trump probably told him and said, listen, guys, if you don't do this, guess what? I'm going to ram so many regulations and tariff you to DEATH. I'm going to shove those regulations, I'm going to shove those tariffs so far up your ARSESESES that you guys aren't going to know what hit you if you move your companies out. So you think I'm going to believe the CEOs? I'm going to believe you, Andrew, Arseman, over Donald Trump? What are you, nuts? What is you, ignorant? And then you're talking about Jamie Dimon. And he was supposedly gave his endorsement and Trump lied about that. Well, I think what happened in that situation basically was the fact that, listen, a lot of people either they'll say something nice about Donald Trump and he'll take that and say that's an endorsement. I mean, I would. Or maybe he's, sometimes if you want it, you ask for it ahead of time. There was an episode in The West Wing where, I'm trying to remember the name character, but he was the one that was the main writer for our 44th president there, Jedediah Bartlett, from New Hampshire of all places. And speechwriter was saying, and he had an idea. He just said, write it up as if he's already accepted the nomination. Because once it's out there, how's he going to take it back? It's very hard to take it back once it's out there, especially if the president says that you endorsed him. So, hey, there's a power move, a power play. Hey, guess what? Politics. And then just a few things on on Bill Ackman, who, found the error of his ways. He really did. Wasn't a big Trump supporter, finally came around to it, now realized, trying to get the other people in line. out there. But like he said, it's tough because there are some idiots out there, even though they're CEOs and making a lot of money, but they're still, idiots up here. But he said, when you take a look at the Trump team versus the Harris team on all these issues, who is it that you're talking about? Who would be the best vice president in case something happened to the president? You want Tim AWOL Walls? That moron, that idiot, that knucklehead, self-described, I might say. You want him? Can you see him? I mean, can you see Tim Walls negotiating with Putin? Or Xi Jinping? Or with Kim Jong-un? Or in the Mideast? I mean, a self-described knucklehead, really? He's going to be the president in case something ever happened to Kamala? J.D. Vance, come on, folks. It's not even close. And then Elon Musk, probably one of the greatest innovators of modern times. You've got him. He wants to be in charge of basically, cutting out all the riffraff, cutting out all the over expenditures, streamlining government, finding waste and fraud. And then you've got RFK. You put him in charge of the FDA or in charge of what he was talking about, getting rid of toxins, making America healthy again, doing things with their food processing and getting rid of all that crap that's causing us so much disease and obesity and those kind of things. And you got Tulsi Gabbard, you got Vivek Ramaswamy, and you got, so many. What's the team on Team Harris? Mark Cuban, that idiot? Him? Rachel Maddow's twin sister? That's who we got? Come on. Come on. Anyways, let's get back to more of the interview because I want to hear more from Bill if these guys are going to let him talk. Anyways, let's continue.
That's not what happened. What happened was Jamie said some positive things about Trump. Someone posted on Twitter that Jamie's endorsing him, and Trump, in effect, retweeted.
Let me ask you this, though. But as somebody who cares about truth,
yes.
Use the deer example, because that's as black and white as they come.
So look,
what do you think of that?
I think there are probably many examples of Trump convincing and or threatening a company that if they open up a factory in Mexico, that he's going to tariff their goods or whatever, and maybe he confused the company. Okay, but he certainly has used that kind of technique. But let me hold on.
Go ahead.
I want to make my own arguments
You
here.
can.
You get to do it all day. I get to do it now.
There's lies on both sides. It's like unbelievable.
In her Twitter account,
and lie from
okay, Vice President Harris put stuff out about Trump that are absolutely completely false. Like, so for example, he's going to sign a federal abortion ban. Okay, Trump's not going to sign a federal abortion ban. He's in bold letters, capital letters. He said it publicly. He's posted it. Otherwise, I can give you multiple examples. Just take a look at her Twitter feed, her X feed. It's a series of lies about President Trump. So, she's not some, unfortunate, again, I look forward to a world, maybe it's 4 years from now, and we have two candidates, and it's November 5th again, and none of them have lied. None of them have personal issues. They're like the world's most incredible candidates, and it's so hard to decide because they're amazing. Human beings are flawed. Donald Trump is flawed. Kamala Harris is flawed.
You think they lie and it's the same? What about like eating pets? No, honestly, I know because
we only got a couple minutes.
Okay, let's focus. Let's talk about the issue. The issue is when you have totally open borders, okay, and you're flying 20,000 immigrants from one culture into a city of 40,000 people, and there isn't sufficient infrastructure, and they don't have driver's licenses, and they have different habits. And by the way, and maybe it wasn't cats and dogs, but they were trapping geese in the pond or whatever the ultimate truth is. There's a symbolic.
Wow. Bill Ackman, he certainly put Andrew the arsehole Sorkin in place, didn't he? Didn't he? Oh, he did. Basically gave him the Velvet Club. And then he's telling, even Joe's trying to get inside there. And Bill goes, listen, I want to talk about something. You guys get to talk every single day. And he just literally shut down. And he claimed the defense of Donald Trump. Basically said, listen, Kamala Harris, she's a lying sack of what? Everything that comes out of that mouth of hers is an effing lie. On her website, on her Twitter feed, on Instagram, anything social media that's posted, it's all lies about Donald Trump, but nobody seems to talk about that. Nobody. And Andrew, arsehole man, Sorkin, that's what he's paid to do. He's a shill for the New York the New York Times. He's a shill for the Harris machine. Of course he is. He wants to go to all the parties in the high-rise penthouses, snort cocaine at these I don't know, maybe that's what they did. That's what I've been told. Drink tea with your pinky extended, caviar, wine, women, song, maybe men too. Who knows? That's what Andrew the arse man wants to do. So he's a shill for the Kamala campaign. But Bill gave it back and basically said, in effect, I'm not your whore. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We really appreciate it when you do that. We'd even appreciate even more if you felt that we've earned it. Like, subscribe, share. You all know what to do. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.